Juarez.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis.
Present.
Council President Gonzalez.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. We will note for the record when Councilmember Mosqueda joins us, but for now we'll go ahead and go through the first parts of our agenda. Presentations, I'm not aware of any presentations today, so we will move to approval of the minutes. The minutes of the City Council meeting of November 16th, 2020 have been reviewed. If there is no objection, the minutes will be signed. Hearing no objection, the minutes are being signed. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the minutes? Adoption of the referral calendar. If there is no objection, the introduction and referral calendar will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the introduction and referral calendar is adopted. And for the record, I'd like to note that Councilmember Mosqueda has now joined us. Approval of the agenda. If there is no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. So we will now move into public comment. Colleagues, at this time, we will open the remote public comment period for items on the City Council agenda, introduction and referral calendar, and the Council's 2020 work program. I thank everyone for their ongoing patience and cooperation as we continue to operate this remote public comment system. It does remain the strong intent of the City Council to have remote public comment regularly included on meeting agendas. However, as a reminder, the City Council reserves the right to end or eliminate these public comment periods at any point if we deem that the system is being abused or is no longer suitable for allowing our meetings to be conducted efficiently and effectively. I will moderate the public comment period in the following manner today. The public comment period for this meeting is scheduled to be 20 minutes. However, colleagues, I would like to, on the front end, extend public comment to a total of 30 minutes, with each speaker having 1 minute rather than 2 minutes to address the council. So if there is no objection, the public comment period will be extended to 30 minutes. Hearing no objection, the public comment period is extended to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be given 1 minute to speak today. I'll call on each speaker by name and in the order which they registered on the council's website. If you've not yet registered to speak but would like to, you can sign up before the end of public comment by going to the council's website at seattle.gov/council. The public comment link is also listed on today's agenda. Once I call a speaker's name, staff will unmute the appropriate microphone and the caller will hear an automatic prompt of "you have been unmuted." Once the caller has heard "you have been unmuted," that will be the caller's cue that it is their turn to speak, but they must first press *6 before speaking. Please begin speaking by stating your name and the item that you are addressing. As a reminder, public comment should relate to an item on today's agenda, the introduction and referral calendar, or the council's 2020 work program. At about 10 seconds, the speaker will hear a chime. That means that you have exactly 10 seconds to wrap up your comments. And we'd ask that you please do so that we can move to the next speaker. If the speaker does not end their comments at the end of the allotted time provided, the speaker's microphone will be muted to allow us to call on the next speaker. Once you've completed your public comment, we ask that you please disconnect from the line. And if you plan to continue following this meeting, please do so via Seattle channel or the listening options listed on the agenda. So the public comment period is now open. We will go until 2:35 p.m. Again, for those who are waiting to give public comment, you will hear a prompt of "you have been unmuted," and then you press *6. So you have to hit *6 after you hear the prompt of "you have been unmuted." Okay, so the first two speakers for today are Maya Garfinkel, followed by Justin Baer.
Hi, my name is Maya Garfinkel, and I'm B Seattle's tenant organizer and a renter in District 4. Thank you to Councilmember Sawant and all of the other council members who supported the budgetary amendment for tenant education, advocacy, and organizing. B Seattle is a proud endorser of the Solidarity Budget. Prior to the pandemic, Seattle was experiencing a homelessness and gentrification crisis in the city. Without action from the City Council, Seattle will see even greater displacement and houselessness of communities of color. We need the City Council to defund STBD so we can invest in Black community. These questions are not unrelated. Rather, without defunding, Seattle is actively prioritizing violence and displacement. Defunding SBD by 50% is not an empty and misleading slogan. It is a concrete policy that City Council can and should enact. To house our neighbors and take care of our communities, we need to defund SBD by 50% at least. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for calling in today. Next up is Justin Bear, followed by Ava Metz.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm a District 5 renter and a member of Socialist Alternative. This budget, as I understand, reduces the completely bloated police budget by about 9%, and at the same time funds some urgent community needs like $30 million for anti-displacement efforts that will help address the root causes of any crime in this city and address urgent needs for affordable housing. This victory was won by the force of millions of people in the Black Lives Matter movement, along with the help of Councilmember Sawant bringing the movement's demands directly into legislation through the people's budget she helps to organize. However, this 9% reduction we see now is not the 50% that the movement demanded and that was falsely promised by the council Democrats. In the future, our movements cannot continue to rely on and negotiate with these Democrats, a strategy that was unfortunately pushed by some movement leaders, which included groups negotiating down from 50% defund to just no new cops instead of continuing to build pressure to force the council to adopt Shama's concrete legislation for an actual 50% reduction. And finally,
Thank you for calling in. Next up is Ava Metz, followed by Daniel Wang.
Hi, my name is Eva Metz. I'm a member of Socialist Alternative, and unfortunately what we have today is a brutal austerity budget, which couldn't be further from what we need right now. And I think we should be very clear that brutal austerity was not the only option in the budget this year. Unfortunately, Councilmember Sawant is the only representative who's kept her promise to defund the police by 50% and invest in communities. And also, unfortunately, not one Democrat in City Hall was willing to support Councilmember Sawant's proposal to increase the Amazon tax that we won this summer and stop all the budget cuts. This is the 7th year of the People's Budget Movement, which was started after Councilmember Sawant first took office in City Hall in 2014 as a socialist. And we've won tens of millions of dollars for funding affordable housing, restorative justice, and much more. This year, it was through grassroots organizing that we've won important gains like anti-displacement funding, the Green New Deal Advisory Board, and funding for the Africatown Community Land Trust, and we will continue to organize.
Thank you. Next up is Daniel Wang, followed by Castile Hightower.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I'm a student and a renter in District 4 and a member of Socialist Alternative. One of the great things about this new budget is that the People's Budget managed to win, I think, $4.2 million for 4 new tiny house villages, including one self-managed village. And this is a huge victory in a city that has a proven track record of treating its homeless and housing insecure like garbage. We know from years of struggle that the city refuses to stop the sweeps of homeless encampments, and that without independent organizing like the People's Budget, the tiny house villages, let alone city-sanctioned homeless encampments, wouldn't even exist at all. And I've said this before earlier in the budget season, I think it still mostly holds true. This final budget the City Council voted on is an absolute slap in the face to working people. We are in the middle of a pandemic and a recession. People who are already living from paycheck to paycheck are out of work, and at the same time, companies like Amazon have posted record profits. And it is within this context that the Seattle City Pledge fully cut over $200 million to things that ordinary people need: affordable housing, libraries, parks, community centers. When Councilmember Sawant proposed to enact a tiny increase on the Amazon tax in order to fill these budget holes, it was voted down. This is a repeating theme.
Thank you. Next up is Castile Hightower, followed by Sam Wise Winocour.
Thank you, Councilmember Sawant. You have been the only CM who has been consistent in keeping your promise to defund SPD by at least 50% and invest in Black and Brown communities with your People's Budget legislation, which unfortunately every other councilmember refused to support. I appreciate how your fighting approach, together with the fighting movement, of course, in the People's Budget and Solidarity Budget activists, led to some important victories like putting back the $30 million to fight gentrification. The mayor promised to try to take away the $250,000 for the Africatown Community Land Trust to build affordable housing in the CD, and the funding for tiny house villages, renters' rights, and eviction intervention attorneys. At the same time, those of us in the movement should recognize that even though we want important things, we did not win a real defund of the police, that they even are going to stop hiring. They're even going to stop hiring. The Black and Brown community are not being prioritized. This budget would not have even come close to preventing my brother, Herbert Hightower Jr., from being killed while going through a mental health crisis. This is shameful. We need a stronger movement and one that is independent of the influence of big businesses and Democratic politicians who are unwilling to take them on to serve the interests of the community. Shameful.
Next up is Samwise, followed by Kyle Graham.
Hi, I'm Samwise. I am a renter in District 5, and I am calling for you to defund the police by at least 50% and to work towards a total abolition of the police in the future. The police do not prevent crime. They simply react to it and brutalize the most vulnerable members of our community. You need to defund the police and invest that money into Black and Brown communities that will help the people of Seattle. 7 out of 9 of you promised to defund the police by 50% at least, and only one of you is working to keep that promise. I see the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next is Kyle Graham, followed by Scout Killian.
Hello, my name is Kyle Graham. I am a resident of District 7 and a member of Socialist Alternative. I live in low-income housing and have been luckier than many tenants that have been driven out of the city. So I'm excited that after the hard work of thousands of other renters taking action as part of the People's Budget and working alongside B Seattle, Tenants Union, and Shama Sawant's council office, that we have won some victories, such as over $605,000 for eviction defense and $500,000 for renter outreach and organizing. But this is not nearly enough. Landlords have billions of dollars to work with, while tenants are going to have to organize next year to fight the coming wave of evictions. And we are going to have to do that while Democrats in office are proposing a budget that cuts programs and pushes the bill onto working people like myself. I'm struggling to survive as an Uber driver, and I know we can't count on the Democrats to support the working people, and we need working class movements like the People's Budget and more support like Shama Sawant.
Next up is Scout, followed by Amelia Bertozzi Villa.
Hello, Council. My name is Scout Keeling, and I'm a renter in District 7. I have been emailing you and making public comments in support of defunding the Seattle Police Department since June, and I am speaking to you today about the proposed 2021 budget vote. Along with thousands of others, I've supported or participated in local actions that have taken place every day since May, and now we are asking for a solidarity budget. Back in June, as a council, 7 of you collectively committed to defund the Seattle Police Department by at least 50% after listening to the voices of your constituents and the massive community pressure to do so. After all the pressure from the community, it should be clear that we do not approve of expanding the force beyond its current size, which you voted for last week. A hiring freeze is a logical measure that takes full advantage of every officer's resignation and retirement to transition our city away from investing in anti-Black policing. Why would you continue to hire more cops after committing to defund the police by at least 50%? I ask that you shift $9 million more away from the Seattle Police Department to prevent the hiring of new police officers next year. I ask that you actually defund 50%.
Next up is Amelia, followed by Walker Thomas.
Hi, my name is Amelia Bertozzi Villa. I am an epidemiologist here in Seattle. As you can imagine, I'm just a little bit busy right now, so I'm quite frustrated to have to be calling in to urge the City Council to maintain their promise to defund SPD by at least 50%. I have studied cause-specific mortality in this county extensively, and I can tell you as a professional that the police are dangerous to all of our constituents and our community, that it is cost-effective and life-affirming to instead fund solidarity budgets and community policing. Please, please defund the police. Thank you. I yield my time.
Next is Walker Thomas, followed by John Adams.
Hello, my name is Walker. I live in District 3. I work in homeless services. I actually work at a homeless shelter downtown. I'm calling in to remind the city council that they said they were going to defund the police by 50%. That means what it means. That money absolutely needs to go to homeless services right this very second. We're in the middle of the COVID crisis. People are dying. There are literally people on the street still. I know you know that. The hotels you've opened, tiny house villages is good. It's not going to be enough, though. We need to get people off the street immediately, and that money needs to come from the cops, who are not only not helping with the homeless problem, they're actively making it much, much worse. You promised. It's time to keep the promise. Listen to everyone on these calls.
Thank you. Next up is John Adams, followed by Bettina McKelvey.
Hello, council members. I'm John Adams, and I live in District 2. I'm sure you've heard this a million times already, but I'll remind you again. The police disproportionately target people of color, particularly black and indigenous people, and that's not only killing, but also jailing, financially burdening, and generally just being a threatening presence. When protesters call on the police to stop this white supremacist violence, they are violently suppressed, and the people they arrest are predictably disproportionately BIPOC. If there's a white supremacist group holding a rally and anti-racists show up to counter-protest, SPD always protects the white supremacist group violently. It should be clear to all of us that the Seattle Police Department is a violent white supremacist organization, and voting to keep them fully funded would be a white supremacist act. Defunding SPD by 50% would be a modest step in the right direction, and think of what you could do with all that money. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Bettina McKelvey, followed by Howard Gale.
Hello, Council. My name is Bettina McKelvey, and I'm a renter in District 3. I'm calling in support of defunding the police by at least 50%. After the events of the past summer, during which SPD brutalized citizens in my neighborhood in ways too numerous for me to even list here, and continues to brutalize and behave as a cruel, vindictive, occupying force toward the people they are paid to protect, it is abundantly clear to me that we fund the police at our own peril. SPD has single-handedly radicalized me and completely decimated any faith I had in the integrity, humanity, or necessity of law enforcement. The entire city is watching, and your actions in this moment will not be forgotten. Listen to the voice of our city and support the call to defund SPD by 50% at least. Our city's very soul is at stake. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next up is Howard Gale, followed by Fred Harder.
Good afternoon. Howard Gale, District 7. Councilmember Juarez, you asked this morning for people to stop grandstanding and sloganeering in order that we create real change. Isn't it grandstanding and sloganeering for council members to reflexively and defensively claim Seattle has the best police accountability system when the last 3.5 years have demonstrably proved otherwise, a system you yourself voted to undercut in 2018? And when just a few days ago the council voted against even considering truly civilian police accountability, despite numerous cities voting for just that earlier this month. You want an end to grandstanding and rhetoric? How about instead of spending over 1 hour this morning debating a $2 million cut to SPD, you discuss the over $16 million SPD spent in overtime alone, beating and arresting people in June and July alone. The $10 million wasted on police accountability, which has brought no measure of justice to the family of the Lyles, Iosea Faltogo, Ryan Smith, Terry Caver, and the dozens of others killed by SPD. There's over $40 million you could have discussed today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Fred Harder, followed by Tejas Devanur.
Hi, my name is Fred Harder. I'm a resident of District 7. I urge the City Council to not succumb to reactionary forces, to not squander the opportunity to bring long overdue and fundamental change to our community justice system. We've employed violence, frequently lethal violence, to maintain what is euphemistically called law and order for far too long. In Seattle, we employ an expensive militarized police force to defend the economic pecking order of our society. We rely principally on rough men to soothe the sleep of only some of our populace. This has to change. Please freeze police hiring for all of the coming year. Use 2021 to get consensus on where we're heading and to design the new system and the transition plan. We can't reach that consensus without involving all the stakeholders, the steering committee with representation from community organizations, the mayor, the city council, progressive police rank and file. Yes, there are some. and police management should be formed. This committee should be guided by police reform experts, perhaps the Chicago Crime Lab. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you. Next up is Tejas Devanur, followed by Dusty Baker.
Hi, my name is Tejas. I'm a rent burden member of UAW 4121 and Socialist Alternative. I'm calling to congratulate everyone who participated in the People's Budget Campaign, along with Councilmember Sawant's office for winning significant wins in this budget. While corporations have seen their profits skyrocket during this crisis, Mayor Durkin initially proposed $230 million in austerity measures against working class people in the city. It was because of our People's Budget movement, which Councilmember Sawant fought with, that we were able to cut the proposed austerity by 1/3. We achieved these victories because of our fighting approach. We don't make deals with the Democrats or business leaders behind the backs of the movement. We stick to the demands that come from the movement and fight for them. Last week, not a single council member stood with Councilmember Sawant and our movement to slightly increase the Amazon tax to help those suffering in this crisis. Still, the gains we've won as a movement are what saved us from worse austerity. If it wasn't for the hundreds of working people who participated, we would have never won the $200 million tax on Amazon, which the city is now using to stave off the worst cuts to public.
Thank you. Next is Dusty Baker, and then we're going to go back up the list to Logan Swan, who is now listed as present. So Dusty Baker, then Logan Swan.
Hey, I'm calling to demand that the council follow their promises and defund SPD by at least 50%, pass a solidarity budget, and put a hiring freeze on SPD. Honestly, I've lost count now of how many times myself and others have been the extremely clear majority opinion to all of you, often in direct conversations and in public comment, and yet you never listen. It is unconscionable that after a long history of brutal violence, excessive force, and gleeful disregard for human life, especially in the last 6 months, you are now about to vote to hire 100 more cops. I don't know how you can all sleep at night after lying to the faces of the activists and homeless folks who are suffering emotional and physical trauma from daily harassment and beatings by the police just for protesting against them. By adding more officers and not even coming close to defunding by 50%, you're saying loud and clear that you don't care about your constituents, that your promises and words are empty, and that you are completely unaccountable to the communities you claim to serve. To say that more officers means more safety less than a month after SPD put a protester in critical condition and lied about it on their social media only shows that you are perhaps intentionally ignoring what's happening in your own city. SPD always protects, aids, and abets violent white supremacist groups. By the way, to suggest that defund is just a slogan with no planning or attention behind it is false, insulting, and frankly racist. And to say that we're entitled and privileged for demanding to represent our interests and being angry when you consistently fail to even show your face.
Next up is Logan Swan, followed by Carolina Lanza. Do we have Logan on the line?
Logan's on the line.
No Logan?
Logan is on the line. He just hasn't unmuted himself.
Logan, if you're on the line with us, you need to hit *6.
Hi, sorry, I was hitting *6. Yeah, my name's Logan. I'm a rank and file union iron worker out of Seattle. Yeah, I'm just calling in, to really, I think, drive the point, right, that it's shocking to me, that we had 7 out of 9, a majority of city council members pledge, to defund SPD, and then when faced, with unprecedented austerity, through the budget shortfall being proposed by the mayor, that, as soon as we were, going back to work, we didn't have tens of thousands of people in the streets. There was only one council member who stood with the defund demand, and who stood strong against, the pressure to have an austerity budget, an anti-worker, anti-union austerity budget, and that it's really, that it was, of course, it was the Democrats on the city council who are pushing for this austerity, and that the only voice against it was the elected socialist, Shama Sawant, who doesn't take money from big business and has a movement-building approach. But so while there's still, over $100 million that are in cuts.
Next up is Carolina Lanza, followed by Orlando Manuel.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Carolina Lanza, case manager for Seattle Indian Center's Outreach and Engagement Program. I am here again at this meeting because Seattle Indian Center wants to be a part of Mayor Durkin's BIPOC initiative so we can get a larger building to better serve our clients. Councilmember Sawant, you are a district representative. We would like to get in contact with you. We've tried contacting your office for a month now, and I understand that these are difficult times, but we need to speak to someone, please. This could be a win-win because homelessness is one of the biggest problems in Seattle that the city of Seattle is facing. We're an agency that provides different services and resources for these clients whom are part of the BIPOC community and are unsheltered. We have seen much success in transitioning many of these people into homes and stable environments. That is why we're approaching you with such urgency. In relation to obtaining a larger space, each year as our numbers grow, our space gets smaller and smaller and provides services for our clients. Thank you for your time. I hope to hear from you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next up is Orlando, followed by Coco Weber.
Hello. I really didn't think it would be possible to be horrendously gaslit by an entire city council, minus Shama, but here we are. After months and months of people protesting nationwide against police brutality, and after each one of you meeting with us, the people you're supposed to represent, and promising us that you'd vote to finally stand by your community, particularly the Black community, and defund SBD, you have the sheer malice to completely turn your back on us and choose to hire over 100 more police officers next year. Is this some kind of twisted doublespeak nightmare? No, this is Seattle City Council. What happened to standing on the right side of history, Teresa? Or will you be calling the cops on us next time we come to your house to speak with you like Deborah Juarez did? Which, by the way, thank you for showing up, Deborah. It's really good to hear you call us entitled for wanting to defund SBD, or as we like to call it, standing up for the Black community. I sincerely hope that this final budget meeting leaves us in a way that does not leave me and thousands of other Seattle residents with feelings of vitriol. Defund SBD by 50% at least, invest in Black and brown communities, and stop pandering to our abusive and corrupt Mayor Durkin. The pressure is on, y'all.
Thank you. Next is Coco Weber, followed by Katie Nooner.
Thank you, Council. I would like to impress upon you that even today, as the CID Mutual Aid Coalition is trying to feed our unhoused neighbors in a park, there has been a threat from the city that they cannot do this. And in the past, these threats have been backed by police presence, taking over and stopping your constituents from taking care of our other community members who have not been cared for by this city. The police have violently attacked your constituents. The police have unjustly arrested and beaten, brutalized your constituents in a manner that is against the Geneva Conventions. My group, T4 for Black Lives, is collecting tents, clothes, so that we can have our constituents not freeze. We need to defund SBD and take care of our community. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next up is Katie, followed by Ilana Lessing.
Hi, my name is Katie Nooner. I am a District 2 resident as well as a small business owner here in Seattle. I'm just going to urge you to pass the budget that you have worked on so hard with the 17.3% defunding from SPD. I also want to remind you that that is not enough. Although that is a start, an historical start, it is going to be just the beginning, and we need you to work forward in defunding by at least 50% and 100% eventually, and invest that money into youth, because the youth will become exactly what we are, adults. And if they're not given the resources, they will be facing things like houselessness, things like drug addiction, things like domestic violence, things like police. We don't need another Me Chance Dunlap Kittens. We don't need another Terry Caver. We don't need another Charlene O'Hiles. And if it doesn't start today, then it's on our hands, honestly. And that's just the truth. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Next up is Ilana Lessing, followed by Jesse Huey.
I think we lost a caller there.
Yeah, looks like we lost Alana, so we're going to go ahead and hear from Jesse Huey and then Ruby Kreitzman.
I think we lost that one too.
We lost Jesse. Okay, we're going to go to Ruby Kreitzman, followed by Brian Clark.
Hello, council members. My name is Ruby Kreitzman, and I'm a renter in District 4. I strongly urge you to vote to defund SPD by 50% and invest in Black and Indigenous communities. Police don't prevent crime. They over-police poor communities and cause more harm. When you protect and fund the police department, you actively support murderers and people that continue to brutalize poor communities, Black communities, Indigenous communities, and protesters, especially over the past 6 months. We won't stop demanding justice until you vote to defund the police by 100%, and this is the first step. Please vote to invest real money into housing, healthcare, and the communities that have been harmed the most by police violence. Vote to defund SPD today. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you. Next up is Brian Clark, and it looks like we have Alana Lessing back with us. So Brian, then Alana.
Hello, Council. My name is Brian, and I'm a homeowner in D6. This summer, 7 of you committed to defunding SPD by 50%. Your mid-year rebalancing had minuscule cuts to SPD, and you said we should wait until November to see the real cuts in the 2021 budget. Yet here you are, once failing again to meet your commitments. It feels like you're shuffling paperwork and forecasts rather than abolishing the core violence of SPD. And you know this violence. This department has rampaged through the city all summer, despite heavy scrutiny and nearly a decade under a consent decree. If they were reformable, they would be reformed by now. This morning's meeting largely centered on police attrition. We are counting pennies when we should be talking dollars. We need to materially cut the funding to this irredeemable violence and reinvest it into community organizations working to build true public safety. You've claimed all summer to be following the lead of BIPOC-led organizations. If Black Lives Matter, prove it. I yield my time.
Next is Alana Lessing, followed by Jamie Paul.
Hello, my name is Ilana Lessing, and I'm calling in support of defending the police by 50% of the people's budget. I would also like to mention Jerez's comment earlier, saying defund the police was an empty and misleading slogan, was only indicative of what you thought it was. I assure you that when people were getting tear gas in the streets for it, they were quite serious. It is not privileged or entitled to ask for the bare minimum that the police stop killing us. STBD has been under a consent decree for 10 years to little or no effect. We trusted you that you would do what you promised to defund the police by 50%, but instead you went back on those promises. That hurts. Meanwhile, your new budget is defunding so many other critical departments that actually keep people safe. Finally, I would like to make you aware of what's going on today in Hingay Park. Seattle Parks has told organizers that they are not going to allow a feeding program due to COVID, while they are sponsoring their own feeding program on November 26th and 7th. This is absurd. People have organized a way to get people food. Why shouldn't they be allowed to do it? Thank you, and I yield my time.
Next is Jamie Paul, and then we will hear from Celine Rousseau, and that might bring us to the conclusion of our 30 minutes allotted for public comment. Let's see how it goes. Jamie Paul, is Jamie on the line?
Yes.
Jamie, please make sure you press *6 before we can hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, I'm Jamie Paul, resident of D7. I'm calling to ask you guys to hold the line and defund SPD by at least 50% on the way to abolition. Our Black and Brown and Indigenous communities live in terror from the police state, and we need to listen to them, amplify their voices, and support what they need. And they generally just want equity and transformative justice to be able to feel safe in their communities, and we really need to amplify their voices and listen to exactly what they want. Defund SPD by 50%, fund tiny house villages. Everyone deserves to feel safe and warm at night. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Our last speaker for today is Celine Russo.
Hi, Celine Russo, District 1. This is a comment on the budget priorities in general and also specifically the council's broken promise to defund SPD by 50%. I'll preface my comment with this. I'm a white, cis, middle-class female, and I know the cops are not what keeps me safe, and they will certainly not keep my Black, Indigenous, and brown friends and neighbors safe. Police are a detriment to their safety. This is a proven fact. Do you know what does keep me safe? The many organizations working tirelessly to reintegrate incarcerated people, feed and clothe our homeless, create healthy creative outlets for at-risk youth, and help heal the survivors of domestic abuse. These are the organizations that we need to be funding. I'm sick and tired of seeing our tax money dumped down the hole of inept, racist, wasteful spending that is SPD. There are so many better uses, highlighted multiple times by many people in this call. Again, this is a proven fact. Please, please continue to listen and learn from the smart Black people that tirelessly and freely try to educate us. They know the solutions that work. And we will not stop, quote, grandstanding and shouting at you to listen until you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, that does take us to the full 30 minutes of public comment, the extended period of public comment this afternoon, pardon. I apologize to those that we were unable to get to, but of course we have a lot of items of business on today's agenda, and I did extend the public comment period at the top of the hour and allotted 1 minute for each speaker in order to allow us to hear from more people within the 30 minutes. So apologies to those that we were unable to get to. Thanks to those who called in and were able to provide us with their public comment. Colleagues, we're going to go ahead and dig into the items of business on our agenda. First up is payment of the bills. Will the clerk please read the title?
Council Bill 119952, appropriating money to pay certain claims for the week of October 26, 2020 through October 30th, 2020, and ordering payment thereof.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move to pass Council Bill 119952. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass the bill. Are there any comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales? Yes. Mosqueda? Yes. Peterson?
Yes.
Sawant?
Yes.
Strauss?
Yes.
Herbold? Yes. Juarez?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
President Gonzalez?
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Committee reports. Colleagues, we're going to start with the Select Budget Committee. The Select Budget Committee report consists of 38 items today, and to help move us along, I am going to ask the clerk to read a group of items into the record, but we will vote on each item within that group separately. So we won't be voting on the whole group, even though the clerk is reading it as a group. We'll be taking individual votes on every item. So we will, council members are going to be provided an opportunity to make comments on each item before I ask the clerk to call the roll. We are then going to pause for general comments on the 2021 adopted budget when we reach items 35 and 36 on our agenda. So items 35 and 36 on our agenda are the clerk file of council changes to the budget and CIP and the budget adoption ordinance. So again, for the viewing public and for my colleagues, items 35 and 36 are the opportunity to make any general comments you have about the overall budget that the council is set to vote on this afternoon once we get to items 35 and 36. So I'll pause right at item 35 and 36, ask for general comments on the budget, and then we will vote on each item individually by having the clerk call the roll. So before we begin with the first group of items being read into the record, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Mosqueda to provide a brief report on the Select Budget Committee. Again, we haven't read any of the items into the record yet. This is just an opportunity for Councilmember Mosqueda to provide us a little bit of framing before we begin the process of calling up the groups and the individual items. Councilmember Mosqueda.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Colleagues, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to help frame this discussion because it's really important to remember that we started this year working on the budget. This is our second budget of the year, and it's always a tough time when we engage in the budget. So you all have been doing a tremendous amount of work along with the community partners who've been working with us to inform our budget deliberations. We know that from the summer transitioning into fall, we needed to regroup and think about how we created a budget together collectively. And we worked on several goals within our office to make sure that this budget process was accountable, transparent, and really productive. We created transparency and access through the budget process, and a huge thank you again to the communications team for making those materials accessible to all of you and to the members of the general public. We ensured that our budget prioritized and responded to overlapping crises that we faced. Any one of these crises alone would have demanded that we step up, and you all did a tremendous amount of work to respond to the multiple crises in front of us. We inserted our values into the budget as guiding principles, focusing on equity and economic recovery, keeping Seattle healthy, safe, and housed. And we supported the department's work by making sure that we protected public servants who provide vital public services during this downturn. I think we all have done a tremendous amount of work that I'm incredibly proud of. I will save my thank yous for the end and just again reiterate the importance of us working together. You all have put your time and your families and your community on hold as we've come together to productively work on this budget. We didn't engage in debating items via the press. We really rolled up our sleeves on some really tough issues, and we engaged with each other to try to juggle very, very much important priorities and try to figure out how we can make all of those priorities balanced, and would not be possible without our incredible teams in our office, Sejal Parikh, Aaron House, Faride Cuevas, and Aretha Basu in my office, but specifically the central staff team who have just done a tremendous job in helping all of these priorities be very well reflected and working with each of us to fine tune them. So I'll save some of the thank yous for later, but really want to thank Ali Panucci and Dan Eder and the team who have been working to make sure that all of these items fit well together and that we have offered a proposal that we can be proud of today. With that, Madam President, I'll save my remainder of my comments until item 35.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Mosqueda, for those framing remarks. Okay, colleagues, we're going to go ahead and begin the process of voting on some of the various bills related to the budget. We have, for the benefit of the public, spent the better half of 8 weeks discussing many of the bills and the legislation that we're about to roll right through. Again, colleagues, the clerk is going to read these items in a group. We will take a vote on each individual item. There will be an opportunity for you to make additional comments if you have concerns or want to highlight something about the bill before the roll is called. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask the clerk to please read the short titles of items 1 through 6 into the record.
Agenda items 1 through 6, Council Bill 119909, authorizing 2020 acceptance of funding from non-city sources. Committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119910, amending Ordinance 126000, which adopted the 2020 budget. The committee recommends the bill pass as amended. Council Bill 119911, amending Ordinance 126000, which adopted the 2020 budget. Committee recommends that the bill pass as amended. Clerk file 314462, 2021 proposed budget. The committee recommends that the file be placed on file. Clerk file 314463, 2021 through 2026 proposed capital improvement program. The committee recommends that the file be placed on file. And Council Bill 119912, relating to the 2021 budget. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I know that was a mouthful. Really appreciate it. So, colleagues, these are all items 1 through 6. Again, are pieces of legislation that we've had an opportunity to discuss during the various weeks in the Select Budget Committee. All of these items were unanimously supported in the Select Budget Committee and received a full committee recommendation for City Council passage today. So, again, for the benefit of the public, nothing controversial exists in these respective bills. So, item number 1, are there any comments on agenda item 1, Council Bill 119909? Hearing no comments on the bill, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Gonzalez. Oh, excuse me. Mosqueda,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
You threw me off there, Deputy Clerk. I was like, whoa.
Thank you. Sorry, I threw myself off.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. We've been juggling a lot of scripts today with various roll calls, so I appreciate it. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Agenda item 2, colleagues. It's already been read into the record. Are there any comments on the agenda item 2, which is Council Bill 119910? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales, Morales,
We do not have audio on you, Councilmember Morales. Can you try one more time? She's giving you a
Yes.
There we go. We hear you now.
Thank you. Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Agenda item 3 has already been read into the record. Are there any comments on the bill, which is agenda item 3, Council Bill 119911? Hearing no additional comments on the bill, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Moving on to agenda item 4, which has again been read into the record. Are there any comments on clerk file 314462, agenda item 4? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on placing the clerk file on file?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Thank you. Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion carries and the clerk file is placed on file. Agenda item 5. Are there any comments on the clerk file 314463, agenda item 5? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on placing the clerk file on file?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion carries and the clerk file is approved and placed on file. Item 6, are there any comments on Council Bill 119912, Agenda Item 6? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? All right. Victory. First group completed. Moving now to the second group, which is items 7 through 11. Will the clerk please read the short titles of items 7 through 11 into the record?
Agenda items 7 through 11, Council Bill 119913, relating to fees and charges for permits and activities of the Seattle Department of Constructions and Inspections. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119914, relating to the Department of Parks and Recreation, establishing the 2021 through 2022 fee schedule. The committee recommends the bill pass. Resolution 31975, authorizing an exception to the level of general fund support to Seattle Parks and Recreation by 3/4 vote of the City Council. The committee recommends the bill pass with Council members Mosqueda, Herbold, Gonzalez, Juarez, Lewis, Morales, Peterson, and Strauss in favor, and Council members Sawant opposed. Council Bill 119915, relating to drainage services of Seattle Public Utilities. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119916, relating to wastewater services of Seattle Public Utilities. The committee recommends that the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reading those into the record. Colleagues, with the exception of agenda item 9, which is the resolution related to Seattle Parks and Recreation Department, these items that we're about to consider and vote on were all passed unanimously out of the Select Budget Committee, again, with exception is agenda item 9. And so I suspect that there may be comments on that particular agenda item when I call for them. So for now, we're going to go through each item, just like we did in the first group. And the first one up is agenda item 7. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119913, agenda item 7? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 8, are there any comments on Council Bill 119914, agenda item 8? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 9, are there any comments on resolution 31975, agenda item 9? Councilmember Sawant, you are recognized.
Thank you. This bill gives the city the authority to do budget cuts to the Parks Department larger than would otherwise legally be allowed. I have argued that this budget is an austerity budget, cutting essential funds from departments like Seattle Parks and Recreation. Shockingly, some council members have claimed that the cuts do not exist. But if the cuts do not exist, then council members would not have any reason for this bill making the cuts to be legally allowed. In the budget committee meeting last Thursday, my office and the People's Budget Movement fought for a budget amendment to increase the tax rate of the Amazon tax to prevent all budget cuts across the city. If council members had supported that, then this bill authorizing cuts would not have been necessary. Unfortunately, no other council member voted yes on that approach. While this bill is only necessary to excuse the cuts to the general fund, the reality is that there are even more drastic cuts to other parks funding. There is an alternative to budget cuts, and my office will continue to fight for it. So I will be voting no on this bill authorizing cuts to community centers, pools, and park maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sawant. Are there any additional comments on Resolution 31975, Agenda Item 9? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
No.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The resolution is adopted and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 10. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119915, Agenda Item 10? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Item 11. Let's see. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119916, Agenda Item 11? Councilmember Peterson, please.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, this is an increase in wastewater rates that's passed through from King County. And we do have a statement of legislative intent that was approved at committee to look deeper into this issue where these rates from King County are just passed directly onto our ratepayers here in Seattle. So I will be reluctantly voting yes on this. We don't really have much of a choice because they're passed through, but we are going to be looking into this further in the future. Thank you.
Appreciate that reminder, Councilmember Peterson. Any additional comments on Agenda Item 11, Council Bill 119916? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you so much. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Okay, we just made it through Group 2. Now we are going to Group 3. Will the clerk please read the short titles of items 12 through 16 into the record?
Agenda items 12 through 16, Council Bill 119917, relating to facilities at Seattle Center. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119918, relating to the financing of Seattle Center's operations. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119919, relating to contracting indebtedness. The committee recommends that the bill pass as amended. Council Bill 119920, relating to the electric system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass. And Council Bill 119921, relating to the electric system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reading those into the record. Again, colleagues, these were all considered in the Select Budget Committee and were all unanimously passed out of committee for the full council's consideration and final action today. So we'll go ahead and start with Agenda Item 12. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119917, Agenda Item 12? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Item 13. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119918, Agenda Item 13? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 14. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119919, Agenda Item 14? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 15. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119920, Agenda Item 15? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. And I'd ask that the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation. Item 16. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119921, Agenda Item 16? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales, Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Next grouping, items 17 through 21. Will the clerk please read the short titles of items 17 through 21 into the record?
Agenda items 17 through 21. Council Bill 119922, relating to the drainage and wastewater system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119923, relating to the drainage and wastewater system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119924, relating to the solid waste system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119925, relating to the municipal water system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass. And Council Bill 119926, relating to the municipal water system of the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Again, colleagues, in the grouping of agenda items 17 through 21, these are all pieces of legislation that were discussed during Select Budget Committee and all passed out of the Select Budget Committee unanimously for consideration by the City Council today. So we'll go ahead and start with agenda item 17. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119922, agenda item 17? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 18. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119923, Agenda Item 18? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 19. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119924, Agenda Item 19? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 20. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119925, Agenda Item 20? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 21. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119926, Agenda Item 21? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Next grouping, items 22 through 29. Will the clerk please read the short title of items 22 through 29 into the record?
Agenda items 22 through 29, Council Bill 119947 relating to the financing of the Seattle Department of Transportation. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119928 relating to admission tax revenue. The committee recommends the bill pass. Resolution 31976 modifying financial policies for the Arts and Culture Fund. The committee recommends the resolution be adopted. Council Bill 119929 relating to Seattle Center parking charges. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119930 relating to adjusting the 9-year Move Seattle Levy appropriation amounts. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119932 relating to taxation. The committee recommends the bill pass. Resolution 31977 approving interest rates set by the Seattle City Employees Retirement System Board of Administration for 2021. The committee recommends that the resolution be adopted. And Resolution 31978 amending Resolution 31334 establishing the City Council's intent to fund the Seattle City Employees Retirement System. The committee recommends that the resolution be adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, colleagues, we're going to go ahead and vote on items 22 through 29. Again, these items were all considered in the Select Budget Committee and were unanimously passed out of committee with a recommendation that the City Council adopt these legislative bills or resolutions during today's full council. So Are there any comments on Council Bill 119947, Agenda Item 22? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 23, are there any comments on Council Bill 119928, Agenda Item 23? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Okay, item 24. Are there any comments on Resolution 31976, Agenda Item 24? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The resolution is adopted and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to legislation on my behalf? Item 25. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119929, Agenda Item 25? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
So sorry. Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 26. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119930, Agenda Item 26? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 27. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119932, Agenda Item 27? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 28. Are there any comments on Resolution 31977, Agenda Item 28? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The resolution is adopted and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 29. Are there any comments on resolution 31978, agenda item 29? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The resolution is adopted and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Next grouping, agenda items 30 and 31. Will the clerk please read the short title of items 30 and 31 into the record?
Agenda items 30 and 31. Council Bill 119933 relating to the organization of city government, creating an Office of Emergency Management. The committee recommends that the bill pass as amended. Council Bill 119949 relating to the organization of city government, creating a new Community Safety and Communication Center. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, agenda item number 30. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119933, agenda item 30? Councilmember Herbold, you are recognized.
Thank you. Just want to make a couple of very short comments about this, since I think I'm listed as the sponsor on this one. This legislation creates a new department, the Office of Emergency Management, which has been pulled out of the Seattle Police Department. Like other executive department directors, the director of OEM will be nominated by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. And currently, OEM is being run by interim director Laurel Nelson, and want to thank central staff for their efforts on this particular piece of legislation and the one that follows. I think there were some important technical changes to Council Bill 119933 that Lisa was able to catch regarding the statutory authority of the director of this office to maintain emergency management standards in the city of Seattle. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Herbold, for those remarks and for your sponsorship of that item. Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 31. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119949, agenda item 31? Councilmember Herbold, you are recognized, and then we will hear from Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. I really want to, again, thank my colleagues on the council for hearing the call of what I see as a workforce vision from the 100 or so parking enforcement officers that were an important driving force for this new Community Safety and Communication Center. Included in the Community Safety and Communication Center will not only be 911 dispatch as proposed by the mayor, but also the parking enforcement officers, with the goal of having those functions transferred by June 1st, 2021. The PEOs, public parking enforcement officers, would be transferred by June 1st, 2021, and the 911 dispatch would be transferred 30 days after the executive receives the necessary, what's called a originating agency identifier, and these are access permissions for the 911 communication center, or June 1st, 2021, whichever is first. The bill also requests that the executive report by the end of the first quarter on the cost effectiveness and feasibility of providing parking enforcement officers access to the Seattle Department's car charging stations and additional staff and budget that would be required to support the potential expansion of the parking enforcement officers' responsibilities as follows: managing traffic at lighted intersections, red light camera and school zone enforcement, response to non-injury collisions, response to and reporting on minor thefts and car break-ins, as well as certain traffic control functions like flagging at construction sites or at locations associated with major events. Lastly, the director of the Community Safety and Communications Center would be nominated by the mayor and confirmed by the city council and subject to reappointment and reconfirmation every 4 years. Obviously, there's still a lot of work between now and June of 2021 to make these transfers happen. And some of that work is being done, I know, within the city's interdepartmental team, of which council has been invited to participate in. And I'm really, again, I'm excited and inspired by the vision that was brought to us by a majority BIPOC portion of the city of Seattle's workforce, and is really centered on their desire to hear the call of their community, to identify what functions that are completed by city employees, that could be completed by city employees that are not sworn officers. So thank you, everybody, for your work on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Herbold. Councilmember Peterson, please.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilmember Herbold, for your leadership on this as our Public Safety Chair. So this legislation does a lot, and I want to be supportive of it. I did just want to state for the record that I also supported the mayor's proposal, and which was supported by the SDOT director, to have the parking enforcement officers go into the Seattle Department of Transportation. I felt that that's also a valid place for them to be housed. Ultimately, we want to save money and enable these those who aren't armed to do this type of work and to become more involved in managing traffic situations. So I support the overall concept of this shift, and will end up supporting this bill and supporting our Public Safety Chair on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Councilmember Mosqueda.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Colleagues, I'm happy that this was included in the final package, though I do appreciate that Councilmember Herbold read most of the criteria that came along with the move. I will be very interested in following up as we receive the reports in advance of that June date to make sure that the questions that we've asked specifically around the infrastructure efficiencies and the efficiencies and cost effectiveness of having various people do flagging, for example, that Councilmember Herbold read, are reports that come back to the council, and look forward to working with all of you and the members who are affected by this potential change so that we can have additional collaboration with the frontline workers and the community at large as we think about this shift.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosqueda. Are there any other comments on Council Bill 119949, Agenda Item 31? Hearing no additional comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales. Councilmember Morales.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can now.
Brief. Yes.
Mosqueda.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sawant.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
Yes.
Juarez.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Council President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Okay, next grouping, items 32 through 34. Will the clerk please read the short titles of items 32 through 34 into the record?
Agenda items 32 through 34, Council Bill 119951, relating to the Seattle Transportation Benefit District. The committee recommends the bill pass as amended with Council members Mosqueda, Gonzalez, Juarez, Lewis, Morales, Sawant, and Strauss in favor. Councilmember Herbold opposed, and with an abstention from Councilmember Peterson. Council Bill 119936, relating to Transportation Network Company drivers. The committee recommends the bill pass. And Council Bill 119937, relating to taxation. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, agenda item 32. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119951, agenda item 32? Councilmember Sawant and then Councilmember Peterson.
Sorry, just 1 second. I will come to my points. Yes. This bill increases the vehicle license fee, also known as car tabs, by $20 to fund transportation. Car tabs are one of the most deeply regressive and punishing taxes in Seattle. I know many have opined that that having car tabs will actually have a good impact against car emissions, which are one of the most important factors in reducing carbon emissions and actually taking Seattle towards zero emissions. And absolutely, we need to do everything in our power to reduce emissions and take them to zero. But in reality, if you look at the economics of car tabs, what ends up happening is it punishes that section of poor and working class people who end up having to rely on their vehicle just to get through their livelihood and through their days, especially because many of them have been pushed farther and farther away from their place of business. Yes, it is also true that there are there's a big section of our poor and working class neighbors who cannot afford cars, and this does not affect them, but that is ignoring the fact that such deeply regressive taxes are actually punishing to the poor and low income and working class people who are affected. And that what happens is literally when poor people cannot afford to pay their car tabs, they get their licenses revoked and often get arrested for driving without a license. As I mentioned in the committee meeting last week, when I was arrested during a direct action demonstration for the $15 minimum wage outside Alaska Airlines offices in SeaTac in 2014, I was held overnight in a jail cell with low income and poor women who had one and all been arrested because of poverty-related traffic infractions, including unpaid car tabs. That is only anecdotal evidence, but it is very much in line with the statistical evidence of how this impacts ordinary people and poor people. Unfortunately, in committee, when I moved to replace the regressive car tab fee with a microscopic increase in the Amazon tax on pandemic profiteering corporations, every other council member voted no. When given a choice, all 8 other council members, all Democrats, supported the regressive tax on workers rather than a tax on big business. Now our only options are to support this regressive tax or lose essential transportation funding, and I am absolutely not going to support any loss in transportation funding, so I will vote yes on this bill, but I wanted to register that the City Council did have a choice of a progressive revenue source and refused to make that choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sawant. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Council President. So this is Council Bill 119951 about the Transportation Benefit District, related to the Transportation Benefit District, the vehicle license fees. So this is a tough one for me because I had wanted the money to go straight to bridge maintenance, and this so the council budget action we took separately was to have it go directly to bridge maintenance, and that failed on a 4-5 vote, the alternative passed at a 5-4 vote to have a process to discuss that and see what the uses of funds should be. So I want to help to shepherd this process in a good faith manner. There are other sources of transportation dollars as well. So I know that we'll be having a broader discussion about that. I was on the record, weeks ago saying that I would support an increase to the vehicle license fee. So I want to honor that and move forward with this. I also appreciate the comments made by Councilmember Herbold last week about this. And so, again, this is a tough issue. I think I'm just going to go on the side of voting in favor of it because we want to get the clock started on collecting this revenue because I know we can put it to a good use collectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Appreciate those comments. Any other comments? I see Councilmember Mosqueda, then Councilmember Lewis, and then Councilmember Herbold.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you, colleagues, for all of the work that you've done to support this revenue effort, but also to, I think, strengthen the final language that accompanied it. I appreciate Aaron House working in our office on the amendment language Council President Gonzalez included and passed. And I want to thank members of the building construction trades, iron workers, laborers who will have a seat at the table as we look at the data for determining where the investments go. And just again, to underscore my comments from earlier, recognizing that there is a lot of shared priorities when we look at infrastructure related to bridges, that our buses and bikers and pedestrians do use these bridges. So looking forward to that conversation and having a data-driven analysis to really point us in the right direction here in the very short time frame that we've now scaled back. So thanks to the community at large, and looking forward to getting more information from you all as you convene very soon. But I think it was the right thing to do, pull folks together. And thanks again to our friends from the building trades for being part of that discussion, along with the transit advocates and broader community that will be coming together soon.
Councilmember Lewis, and then Councilmember Herbold.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I voted for this previously in the Budget Committee. Certainly was disappointed that the initial proposal on the dedication of these resources for bridge maintenance didn't go through. I will be voting in favor again today at the full council, but remain committed that if not this funding resource at the end of the stakeholder process, that this council continue to look for ways to find additional resources to meet the maintenance funding goals outlined in the recent audit for bridge maintenance. That this still be considered a potential source as we go through the community stakeholder process to determine where some of these resources can go. And by voting today, I am affirming that that is a process that should go forward, and that we should have this discussion about how we are going to make these important investments. So with that, I'll be voting in favor, and appreciate the moment to just make those remarks.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis, for those remarks. Councilmember Herbold. You're unmuted, so you are ready to go.
I was unmuted. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, so just trying to keep things interesting here. Again, council members voted 5-4 to substitute a version that adopted a fee. This is a version that I was a co-sponsor of, but at that time, the vote was to remove the specified funding for bridge maintenance. Instead, in this version, a stakeholder process will develop a proposal for use of the funds. I voted no on the revised proposal because I'm concerned that the council is handing the decision of whether we should provide funding necessary to partially implement auditor recommendations to a stakeholder group who might decide that the funds should be used for other purposes. I believe it's up to the council and the mayor to make the tough decisions on how to implement recommendations of the city auditor. Sometimes that means funding items that there are competing needs for, but doing so because the city auditor has identified it as critical. I'm concerned that this practice creates a troubling precedent that undermines SMC 3.40.050, which reads that under the section audit reports follow-up required, that it is city policy to follow up on audit reports by the city auditor. And folks might argue, well, we can find other funds to follow up on audit reports by the city auditor. I just want to note that the Move Levy goes through 2024. The council won't have the opportunity to discuss levy funding until that time. And so our options for dedicated transportation funding to address maintenance on our critical bridges is very limited. The 2015 Move Levy was set up a little differently than the previous Bridging the Gap levy, and the previous levy dedicated a higher proportion of funds to maintenance than the Move Levy does. So, again, the Move Levy started moving in a direction away from maintaining critical infrastructure. If we're going to move towards maintaining critical transportation infrastructure that is multimodal transportation infrastructure, we are not going to have the opportunity to do so for some time. The mayor, as we all know, has chosen to proceed with the repair for the West Seattle Bridge. I wholeheartedly agree with this decision, in part due to significantly lower capital costs and the time it required to build a new bridge. The ongoing maintenance costs will be higher for the West Seattle Bridge, and so this is going to be an issue that I am going to be continuing to weigh in on. Again, as I said, just to keep things interesting here, I'm going to actually vote consistently with my my committee vote and not support this legislation. Thank you.
Councilmember Mosqueda, and is there anyone else who wanted to make any comments? Okay, seeing none. Councilmember Mosqueda, please.
Thank you so much. Council members, I'm always nervous when people want to keep things interesting, and appreciate the comments that were made. But I did just want to say for the record earlier in my comments about the support from the building construction trades, I wanted to thank the ironworkers. They sent a letter in that said, the ironworkers support the budget for bridge maintenance being proposed by Councilmember Peterson, but we also understand the need for community oversight group. We feel it should be made up of labor and community stakeholders. We're excited to have a seat at the table and looking forward to working with you. That's the piece I wanted to read in for the record, and again, thank our friends in the building trades and make sure that that comment got recorded for the record.
Thank you so much for those comments and that conversation. We had a really protracted conversation about the amendment that led to this final council bill in budget committee, so I don't want to belabor the point. I do want to thank the original sponsors, council members Peterson, Lewis, and Herbold, for bringing forward the legislation to authorize a $40 vehicle license fee. There has been some comments in committee that this is an increase in the license fee. It's actually a decrease in the vehicle license fee. Folks through the end of the year will be paying $80 in their vehicle license fee, and starting in 2021, that will be reduced to a total of $40. So this is not an increase in the vehicle license fee, and I wanted to make sure that the record was correct with regard to that particular issue. Secondly, I continue to hear and understand and appreciate Councilmember Herbold's comments and concerns around the question about the stakeholder process and its relevance to future policy decisions by the City Council in short order related to how we're going to spend the dollars. And I remain committed to making sure that we have the benefit of that stakeholder information. But of course, at the end of the day, it's always up to the City Council to make budget appropriation authorities within our charter mandated duties. So again, there will be recommendations, but not mandates coming out of the stakeholder group. And I think we will benefit from having the stakeholder group come together and take a look at best use of these dollars. I recognize that the vehicle license fee in the past has been largely dedicated to transit purposes and not to bridge maintenance, but we have a new set of information before us that does provide us with additional information around the need to take care of our bridges as sort of a basic part of our infrastructure that connects buses and cyclists and pedestrians and single occupancy vehicle users throughout the city, and I think it's important for us to take that into consideration. So I hope we will be able to have that abbreviated stakeholder process that will yield us some really rich information and recommendations that we can consider in our deliberations as we look towards shaping a spending plan. I also want to acknowledge that Councilmember Herbold, you mentioned that some city resources related to constant revenue streams or consistent revenue streams for bridge maintenance. And I also just think we'd be remiss in not acknowledging that we also have some great members of our congressional delegation, for example, who've been championing additional funding at the federal level for bridge maintenance needs, especially the West Seattle Bridge. So I want to thank Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from our congressional district here in particular, who just last week was able to secure some additional funding for the West Seattle Bridge. And I think that there are going to be, I hope now with the new administration, more opportunities for us to work closely with our federal delegation to continue to advocate for federal dollars for this particular need in sort of a long-term strategy. So I think there's a lot of work that we can do here. The Vigo license fee gets us about $7.2 million a year. Our needs related to bridges is a total of $100 million. So we certainly need a lot more resources available to really meet the minimal need, which I understand the city auditor identified as about $34 million. So I think we're all committed to figuring this out and to making sure that we can balance all of the varying needs related to our infrastructure and our transit network. So appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with all of you on those important issues. All right. Well, I think I don't see any additional comments here, so we're going to go ahead and close that debate. And I'm going to ask that the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill.
Morales.
Yes.
Mosqueda.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Sawant.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
No.
Juarez.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Item 33. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119936, agenda item 33? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales.
Yes.
Mosqueda.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sawant.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
Yes.
Juarez.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Agenda item 34. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119937, agenda item 34? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales.
Yes.
Mosqueda.
Aye.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sawant.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
Yes.
Juarez.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Okay, we have arrived now at agenda items 35 and 36. Colleagues, as I mentioned at the top of the agenda, these are the major budget actions related to the full city council budget as amended during our select budget committee process. So this is an opportunity for, if council members are interested in making comments about the budget as a whole, this would be the time to do that. Before we go ahead and have the clerk read these items into the agenda, I did want to make a note on behalf of the city clerk's office that the Budget documents that were approved at the Select Budget Committee weren't able to be updated and preloaded into today's City Council agenda. So Council Bill 119938 and the other records, let's see, will also be updated with the updated records and is available online. So, so again, folks, these materials were not uploaded when the agenda was published, but are now available online. So if you are interested in taking a look again at clerk file 314464, that is now updated on Legistar, but was not included on our published agenda. Same for Council Bill 119938. So for the benefit of you colleagues and members of the public, these documents are now uploaded and available online for viewing by the general public and by each of you as council members. Okay, so I'm going to have the clerk read items 35 and 36 into the record.
Excuse me, agenda items 35 and 36. Clerk file 314464, City Council changes to the 2021 proposed budget and the 2021 through 2026 proposed capital improvement program. The committee recommends that clerk file be approved and filed. Council Bill 119938, adopting a budget including capital improvement program and position modifications for the City of Seattle for 2021 and creating positions exempt from civil service, all by 2/3 vote of the City Council. The committee recommends that the bill pass as amended with Council members Mosqueda, Herbold, Gonzalez, Juarez, Lewis, Morales, Peterson, and Strauss in favor, and Council member Sawant opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilmember Mosqueda, as chair of the Select Budget Committee, you are recognized before we vote on the next two items, and then I will open the floor to comments by other council members before I take up each item individually. So again, colleagues, if you'd like to make comments related to the 2021 budget as amended by the Select Budget Committee, now is the opportunity for you to get into the queue in order to make comments generally about the budget. I will, after everybody's made comments, we will take votes on the clerk file first, and then on the council bill. But I won't be asking for additional comments when I call up each individual item. So again, if you want to make comments, now's the time to make comments. You can do it on both the clerk file and the council bill. Once we close out comments and debate, we're just going to go straight into voting on each one of these items, but we're not going to open up. We're not going to open it up for comments once I call them up for a vote. Okay, Councilmember Mosqueda, you are first up, and colleagues, as you feel moved to make comments, please raise your hand so I can begin a list in the order that I see folks. Councilmember Mosqueda, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And I do hope folks feel moved to highlight some of the pieces that you all have included in this budget. And I'll make some opening comments. And then at the end, if there's pieces that haven't been highlighted, I would love to summarize a few additional pieces before we close out. I want to say thanks again. I am moved. I'm moved by the testimony and the movements that we've all seen manifest across this country. I am moved by the urgent need to act to make sure that people have the services and the housing and the health services that they need in order to sustain the crisis of this pandemic. And I am moved by the urgency to make sure that our workers and our smallest businesses have the support that they need so that they can continue to offer services and that there will be employment for workers as we recover from this crisis. I'm moved to do this work because all of you have stepped up in so many ways this year to make sure that we have done the work of budgeting through a racial justice lens, and that we have come together in this time that requires us to act outside of our comfort zone and push the bounds in terms of what council had previously considered their responsibility as it relates to the budget. This was no easy task. When it came to COVID, economic downturn, civil rights uprising, and working remote, back-to-back meetings and passing the Jumpstart progressive tax revenue, it is really an incredible list of things that this council has been able to act upon in a very short time. And we are going to continue to work together. We are going to continue to work to make sure that our community has the services it needs. And we now, thanks to your work, thanks to Central staff's help and leadership as well, we have $40 million in reserves that we know we will immediately need to begin looking at as we help those who are dealing with the third wave of COVID and the unexpected nature of COVID and the economic downturn that will manifest in 2021. This will be a robust process, and we want to lead that effort with the community partners, many of whom we have engaged with over months to create the Jumpstart Progressive Tax proposal and identify ways that we can refund or rebuild that original spend plan that was planning to invest up to $89 million in assistance for COVID relief. We know that the crisis is urgent, and we have invested in many ways this summer and through this budget process in preparation for the worst yet to come. Your council, your city is working for you. We are stepping up to make sure that there is a hand to hold through this crisis of the economic downturn and the uncertainty that the pandemic is imposing on our health and our livelihoods over the next year. I'm really proud of the work that we've done together. And I say that in the same breath where I say, I know we have much more work to do. This morning's conversation, the last 2 months worth of conversation, the conversation since June and May and previously in the spring of this year, we know there is tremendous work that must be accomplished together, and that across the country, people are demanding more of their electeds, and we need to be bold, we need to be courageous, and we need to keep pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. We have done that in many ways, and we will continue to need to do so in the upcoming months. In this budget, you'll see the ways in which we have worked together to identify investments in not just recovery, but a more equitable recovery, recognizing we should not go back to the way things were before, when so many at the bottom had so little, and just a very few at the top in this city had so much. We want a more equitable recovery, and that's what Jumpstart's progressive payroll tax begins to do. We've also invested in making sure that more folks, more working families, more small businesses can sustain this crisis by having assistance to small business support, rental assistance, eviction prevention, food assistance, childcare. You all have made it possible for people to have greater self-sufficiency and economic stability, which also helps our health. Because when we live in chronic poverty or generational poverty, or we're on the cusp of not being able to pay our rent or pay for our property if you have a small business, that chronic stress also hurts your physical health. And right now, we need everybody in this city to be healthy. We've invested in direct measures to make us healthy as a city. We've made sure that there's hand washing facilities and garbage cleanup. We've made sure that folks have access to good, high quality food through Fresh Bucks program, and that we've also maintained commitments to make sure that there's access to ethnically diverse food across our city for our most diverse populations. You know, this is about how we invest through a racial equity lens, and making sure that people stay healthy requires food and a place to call home. We've said repeatedly in this budget that in order to stay healthy, you have to stay home. That's the mandate. But far too many people in our city don't have a place to call home. They don't have a place to call home even for a night, because our shelters are at capacity. And the crisis of living without the ability to have shelter in this moment is manifesting itself in the street. And every one of our neighbors, each one of us as council members, every resident across the city has seen the consequence of years of divestment in affordable housing and years of not sufficient investment in shelter services and the human services necessary to make sure that our outreach efforts and our housing efforts for those who are living unsheltered in our city are sufficient. And right now, we're seeing that play out with more people living in tents and RVs, more people sleeping in the doorways. And this budget makes historic investments in helping those who are living unsheltered in our community. We want to not only help make sure that they have access to the necessary resources, but help get them sheltered and inside. That's what I'm really proud about in this budget. We've invested in tiny homes. We've invested in hotel sheltering. We've invested in non-congregate shelter options, because even the homeless service providers themselves have said that the old ways of congregate shelters are just not working. There's more humane ways and holistic ways to help make sure that people have the services they need. And our budget makes those historic and necessary investments. We're investing in direct housing as well. And we're doing it through the lens of what the community needs. Everything from making sure that the folks at Africa Town have the pre-development costs they need to really invest in the shelter services that will lead to permanent supportive housing, to making sure that our friends at Aurora Commons have the funding that they finally have been asking for so long. We made sure that the $30 million that we had committed to 2 years ago through the sale of the public land at Mercer Megablock is maintained, so that $30 million goes directly into communities at the highest risk of displacement. And that's our community of color population. We want to welcome new neighbors coming into our city and be a welcoming city just as much as we want to prevent displacement and gentrification. And this budget makes those investments. We're investing in the housing. We know we need much more though, and it will require us to work in partnership with the county and also at the state. And I'm really looking forward to having those conversations with the new federal administration. Because right now we're at a 40-year historic low in housing investments from our federal government. These issues of housing and homelessness, the crisis of mental health services, and the lack of access to comprehensive services cannot just be addressed at the city level alone. And I'm really excited about the partnership that we could potentially have with the new administration to invest in housing, homelessness services, and our health services. Folks, in this budget, we have made strides towards actually investing in Green New Deal principles. And we're doing that by making sure that people have access to sidewalks from Rainier Beach to Beacon Hill, from 45th Avenue to South Park, sidewalks, pedestrian ways, bike-friendly avenues so that people aren't in the street, and we're actually creating protected bikeways across our city. We're making sure that the Green New Deal investments that you all approve through the Jumpstart Progressive Tax legislation has an on-ramp. For 2022, we've invested in making sure that our departments, Office of Sustainability and Equity, have the ability to get, and the environment have the ability to actually ramp up for those Green New Deal investments by also making sure that they have the personnel, direct titles that include Green New Deal labels so that we are getting prepared as a city. And we're doing major investments in making sure that our buildings are energy efficient. This is what it looks like to make sure that our values as a council are represented in a city budget. And we've made tremendous changes to the proposed budget that came down. I think as folks comb through the budget, and I hope you do, thanks to the incredible work of the communications team, you now have excellent tutorials on the screen to show you various components within the budget. I hope you will comb through it and see the ways in which this council has not only stepped up to lead in a moment of crisis that is the economic downturn and COVID pandemic, but the ways in which these investments are centering communities of color as we think about what it means to create greater sustainability and self-sufficiency. Let's make sure that we're investing in areas that have been historically underfunded in the past. And let's lift those items in this budget up and recognize what we've done and where we still need to go. I'm really thankful for all of your work as it comes to public safety. I just want to reiterate the important work that we've all done and the historic nature of it. This council set out to really do three things this year. Shrink the SPD's budget in areas where we knew we've asked our officers to step into areas of mental health services and case management that we should be actually doing through community. And you all have done that in partnership with the community. We've helped shrink areas where we knew those services could be better served in health and human services in a standalone department or in community investments. You all have made those reductions possible. We set out to invest in community alternatives. We're investing a historic amount in direct community strategies through the participatory budgeting process, through the task force, by making sure that the 10 million that we committed to earlier this year gets directly out into communities, and now 12 million actually. You've all made that possible. And the third thing is we now have also committed to making sure that we're not growing the size of the police department as we also seek to increase the size and capacity of our community partners. We've helped to make sure that we're scaling up community-based programs and services, community-based alternatives to addressing harm, and making sure that there's a restorative justice pilot program, programming for Black girls and young women and Black, queer, and trans youth. There's so many pieces that I will let all of you highlight, in addition to the ways in which you have helped to pull out mental health services from our traditional public safety model and really make sure that we have our community being treated by those who have those mental health skills, and our firefighters. We have lifted up all of so many investments, and I'll let Councilmember Herbold, and I'll summarize on some of those pieces as well, talk about the ways in which we've scaled up our firefighter department by making sure that they have trauma-informed counseling, because we know that this year's been tremendously hard, and that they have the support that they need to scale up that third Health One team. It's been a long year, and I will try to not be any more long-winded, just to say thank you. And it's been a real honor and a privilege to be able to work with all of you. I would be remiss if I didn't get a few quick thank yous in, Council President, so I don't miss those at the end. Thank you very much to my team, Sejal Preek, Chief of Staff, Aaron House, Policy Manager, Freddy de Cuevas, staff to our Budget Committee here, and Aretha Basu, Legislative Assistant, along with our new intern, Lori Mahue. Also, thank you to the central staff budget team. Could not do this work, and I'm just in awe every day of their skills, their patience, and their talent. Ali Panucci, Dan Eder, Tom Meisel, Lisa Kay, Patty Organ, and the entire every single member of the central staff for all of your expertise, your hours, your careful analysis, and all of the work that you've done on each one of these budget elements. The entire central staff has really been the heroes behind how we have made this budget balanced, because let's remember, we received a budget with $3 million in reserves. You all have helped us build that back up to now $40 million, and they had a huge part in that. Thanks again to our clerks who always keep the show running smoothly here, our IT system who's enabled this virtual deliberations to take place, and to our Seattle channel partners who make sure that this information is streamed live and archived for you. Thanks again to our community partners who've continued to provide public testimony, letters, calls. We hear you, we see you, and we will continue to work with all of you as we take additional steps to help make sure our city is healthy, housed, and safe on our road to a more equitable economy. It's been a privilege and it's been an honor, and I look forward to wrapping this up with all of you as we think about the next steps that lay in front of us.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosqueda. I did get a message from Councilmember Morales that she would like to make comments, and then I just saw Councilmember Herbold's hand go up too. Councilmember Morales, if you are ready and available, happy to recognize you, and if not, I can go on.
Sure.
Ready? Great.
Yeah.
Councilmember Morales, please. You're recognized. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I won't be too long. I appreciate that. I do want to thank everybody. Colleagues, we have had some heated debate over the last few months as we try to navigate a budget that both reflects our economic realities while also trying to deliver for the residents of Seattle. So, and I want to say that thanks to our work this summer to pass the Jumpstart legislation, we've added we have additional revenue for COVID relief, and we're able to prevent the kind of austerity budget that I think we were all really fearing as we moved into the lockdown mode here. This council's really made significant steps, and I'm proud of our work together, and I look forward to continuing our work in 2021. I also want to thank the extraordinary organizing and advocacy of frontline workers, community stakeholders, and advocates. I'm proud of the work that we've done together as a council, and I want to say I feel proud that I was able to use this very privileged position to bring the voices of District 2 into the halls of power. This council listened, and through this budget process really delivered by taking serious steps to address homelessness, dismantling and replacing the navigation team, laying the foundation for a more humane and a more responsive approach to homelessness engagement. The HOPE program will be expert-led, It'll expand outreach to unhoused neighbors across the city. And will finally offer investments in hotels to ensure non-congregate shelter, especially right now during COVID. We've also expanded city hygiene services for unhoused neighbors with 63 new public sinks coming and regular trash pickup for residents of 13 additional encampments. We committed $30 million to a new participatory budget process that will prioritize community members' interests in how our community safety resources are spent. And we made significant progress in shifting how we fund the Seattle Police Department. With this 2021 budget proposal, we're investing in alternatives to policing, as was already mentioned, safety coordinators, Health One expansion. We're cutting $6 million in vacancy savings and added the $2 million more this morning. I think I will say again that increasing police staffing wrongly presumes that they can fill the roles of nurses and social workers and housing specialists. I think our commitment this morning is a strong indication of the work that we have done and the work that we know we still have to do. As I've said before, I don't believe there is no research to prove more officers on patrol equals increased community safety. Especially when we know that 2020 has been really hard for our neighbors for so many reasons. I'm excited that with today's vote, we rejected the premise that more officers equals more safety. This budget, we mark an important turn, investing in a new paradigm of health and safety, and I'm really proud of that. I also want to thank South End advocates, folks in D2. We'll see $7 million in mobility investments, including sidewalk repairs in Rainier Beach and Beacon Hill, and the completion, or at least the beginning of construction of the Georgetown to South Park Trail. We'll have 3 additional outreach workers to support our homeless neighbors in the South End, and the $550,000 invested in the restorative justice pilot program at South End schools. I do want to thank as well everyone in our legislative department for helping me navigate what has been an extraordinarily crazy year. As a new council member, I've been really thankful to the policy and budget expertise on our central staff. And I want to give a special shout out to Greg Doss, who somebody needs to clone that guy so that he can take a break, because he's been really working so hard on all of our behalf. So thank you to Greg and the entire central staff. Our communications team, who turn our ideas into easily digestible posts and visuals and support all of us with making sure that our community knows the work that we're doing. City clerks, who more than once helped set me straight on procedural rules. Thank you very much. And of course, the folks in IT who have helped all of us learn how to navigate new platforms, how to do mic checks, how to deal with bandwidth constraints. Thank you all for really stepping up in this new virtual world. I want to thank again the community advocates and stakeholders, especially my constituents in District 2, who brought us budget proposals, pushed us to stretch our thinking, and who continue to hold us accountable for delivering on our commitments to build a more equitable Seattle. And finally, I have to thank my staff, Alexis Turla, who is clearly the budget maven on my office, in my staff. Darzel Touch, who always reminds us to make sure that we're including young people in our deliberations. Evan Silvernail, who makes sure we do the same for our homeless neighbors. Keisha Farmer, who is always making sure that our public safety and transportation priorities are being met, as well as our interns, Mahalat Mesfit, Mani Carey, and Ezekiel Augustine. They've all been rock stars in managing these processes while also working really hard to keep up with constituent calls. And we were able to accomplish so much this year. I'm really proud of this team, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do this year. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember Morales. Next in the queue is Councilmember Herbold, and then Councilmember Sawant.
Thank you so much. Just some overall statements, and then I just want to lift up some of the individual budget actions as well. In response to widespread community advocacy in Seattle and throughout the country in response to the murder of George Floyd last summer and generations of activism prior to that in the face of injustice and harm at the hands of police officers, the council began work on a new approach towards public safety, an approach that does not assume that more officers means more safety. This budget charts the next steps, which will continue into 2021 and beyond. The budget includes unprecedented investments in alternatives to policing and reductions in the police department budget. It creates the Community Safety and Communications Center. This is a major step forward in the city's ability to reimagine policing and deliver city services that meets the need of all of the community. Shifting 911 dispatch out of SPD, it also shifts out and asks the executive to look at expanding the role of parking enforcement officers. Perhaps we should start considering a different name for the role of these critical workers. It adds crisis responders and adds a new Health 1 unit, Health 2, thanks to the leadership of Budget Chair Mosqueda. And in line with the council's action last summer, transfers victim advocates to the Human Services Department. Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. And from a total of 197 officer positions in the adopted 2020 budget, today, the Budget Committee acted to adjust the funding in line with the number of positions SPD will be able to fill based on up-to-date information on separations, with funding for 1,343 FTEs, with a request for an additional 35 out-of-order layoffs. Council has expressed a clear desire for up-to-date information with monthly updates on SPD staffing and use of overtime, as well as reporting on traffic stops, including racial disparities, and recommendations on training and policy changes to address this. As far as the value of the SPD transfers and cuts, the 911 and PEO transfer and the transfer of victim advocates to HSD total $37 million reduction in the SPD budget. And the SPD staffing and related cuts directly to SPD is up to $42 million, including the provisos. So that is nearly an $80 million reduction in the SPD budget, again, including provisos, transfers, and cuts. The budget itself follows through on commitments to reimagine community safety and build and scale up alternatives to policing. It ensures that commitments made in previous years are honored. It funds what was $10 million in investments to community safety that council provided in 2020, and this morning we added an additional $2 million as a result of the additional $2 million cut in committee this morning. This will result in $12 million for the Human Services Department to get out the door following a community engagement process to inform the request for proposals for these funds, and expects to make awards by Q1 2021. It clarifies that investment should move the city's community safety strategy towards a public health-centered harm reduction model of restorative justice, crime prevention, and ameliorating the harm caused by the criminal legal system to individuals and communities most impacted. The budget also restores over $1 million to the Seattle Office for Civil Rights for organizations pursuing alternatives to or addressing harms caused by the criminal legal system that were awarded grant funding through the 2020 collaborative grant making process. This funding was the result of years of advocacy by community groups that resulted in the council unanimously passing a resolution for zero use of youth detention in 2015. And the funds were meant to be an ongoing annual investment. It restores the $30 million to the Strategic Investment Fund to address displacement in areas at significant risks. Thank you to the leadership of Councilmember Sawant in this area. And it provides $30 million for a participatory budgeting process that will fund alternative public safety models and programs building on the $3 million that council provided in 2020 for community research into community safety, which is currently underway through the Black Brilliance Project. This budget action is funded through cuts to the SPD budget in 2021. And I think we all council members who introduced reductions can really take a lot of pride in that those actions have led to this $30 million for participatory budgeting. As far as some other actions that I think are important to this budget, I want to just lift up funding to reverse cuts of the fire department exams and reverse a cut of 20 firefighters from the fire department recruit class, adding funding to the fire department to fund automated external defibrillators, Lucas devices, and ballistic sets. Making sure that we are doing a better job tracking overtime and off-duty work, working to fund the South Park Public Safety Coordinator, and then also working to ensure that we get good reporting on the West Seattle Bridge repair work, as well as implementation of the Reconnect West Seattle program, which is SDOT's mitigation program to fund projects that address the impacts of West Seattle detours on communities like Highland Park and South Park. We funded resources for the landlord liaison program. We added funds to maintain family rapid rehousing caseloads to ensure families don't fall back into homelessness. We've restored funding for the Age-Friendly Seattle program. And we've included funding both to permit contracting with public health for services recommended by the 2016 Heroin and Prescription Opiate Addiction Task Force, as well as increased funding for services and harm reduction programs at social service agencies that serve people who use drugs daily, allowing them to expand hours, increase staff, expand to additional locations. We've also included funds for alternatives, specifically to I'm sorry, I'm losing track here. We've included funds for outreach to people experiencing homelessness with some geographically focused services within District 1. And also want to shout out that the West Seattle Longhouse Crossing project is fully funded in this budget with $2.8 million to be included for the funding, in addition to the funding that the council provided last year. We also included funding for the Social Service Provider Academy. And then lastly, I should have spoken to this during item 14. Want to make sure that the viewing public knows that we also acted on legislation approving issuance of bonds, including an authorization for $100 million in bond financing for the West Seattle Bridge. The council earlier adopted a $70 million interfund loan to provide short-term funding for the West Seattle Bridge and related work. And the bond sale will pay back $70 million to the internal funding source and provide $30 million in additional funding. Many, many thanks to my colleagues, especially to the vision and leadership of Budget Chair Mosqueda, who had a vision for a no austerity budget. Many thanks to the hard work of central staff and my staff, Christina Kutsubas, Newell Aldrich, Alex Clardy, and as well my heartfelt gratitude to the activism of Decriminalize Seattle, King County Equity Now, and the tens of thousands of people who've contacted my office and marched in the street and testified in many hours of council public comment. Again, this work is just beginning, and I commit to continue to walk with you in this exercise in re-envisioning how we can promote a structure for community safety that benefits all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Herbold, for those remarks. Really appreciate it. Councilmember Sawant, and then again, colleagues, Councilmember Sawant is the last person I have who has indicated she'd like to speak. So if you'd like to, please do let me know. Okay, got Councilmember Strauss and then Councilmember Lewis. Got you all down, and then Councilmember Peterson. Councilmember Sawant, floor is yours.
Thank you. I will be voting yes on the group of council amendments to the budget, but voting no on the budget as a whole. So I'm voting yes on item 35 and no on item 36, which is the budget as a whole. I want to first convey my thank you for the tremendous and dedicated work by the City Council Central staff on the proposals from my office and the People's Budget. Dan Eder, Ali Pinucci, Tracy Ratzliff, Asha Venkatraman, Greg Doss, Jeff Sims, Amy Gore, Calvin Chow, Lisa Kay, and Tom Mikesell. Thank you all. Thank you to all the community organizers and socialists who work in my council office, to all the organizers in Socialist Alternative, and all the activists who have participated in the People's Budget movement. As in previous years, since 2014, the People's Budget movement, and this year along with the Solidarity Budget, has won important victories for working people. We restored funding for the Green New Deal Oversight Board and the $30 million Anti-Displacement Fund, both unfulfilled promises from Mayor Durkin. We have won hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding for renter rights organizing and eviction defense, millions of dollars for 3 new tiny house villages, and funding for Nicholsville and Share Wheels self-managed villages, and funds for 24-hour homeless shelters. We won the beginning steps to pass transferable renter background check legislation and standard lease legislation ordinances that my office will be bringing next year, which, if passed, will have a major impact on renters' rights. And we won the initial pre-development funds for Africa Town's project to develop a full city block of affordable housing in the heart of the Central District. Over the summer, tens of thousands of people flooded the streets of Seattle and over 20 million across the country to protest pervasive and ongoing police violence. These protests also captured the frustration with a society that offers little to the majority of working people and youth, a society that is riddled with crises, the pandemic, the recession, and a dead-end economy for many young people. It was a real testament to the power of that movement in the summer that 7 of the 9 Seattle City Council members committed to defunding the police by 50% at that time. And it is because of thousands of people speaking up from the People's Budget and the Solidarity Budget, and because the movement has its unwavering voice through my Socialist Council office, that we have now won a $31 million or 8.2% reduction in the police budget, not counting the mechanisms like moving the costs of parking enforcement out of the police department, which do not honestly represent actual cuts. And those millions of dollars of reductions are translating into available dollars for community programs and services. But taken as a whole, the budget that Democratic Party council members are going to approve today is a budget that deeply fails working people and marginalized communities, including working class and poor communities of color. In the middle of a pandemic and a spike in COVID infections, in the context of the worst recession for working people since the Great Depression, Democratic council members will be carrying out brutal austerity. It is true that the City Council's budget reduces slightly the size of the cuts proposed in Mayor Durkin's budget, but still the council is allowing almost $200 million to be cut from affordable housing, bus hours, parks, and libraries. Funding for affordable housing has been cut from $131 million in 2020 to only $84 million in 2021, a cut of over a third to affordable housing, while homelessness balloons out of control across the city. Funding for transportation has been cut by almost $100 million. Those cuts include millions for buses and tens of millions for essential maintenance and construction of our transportation infrastructure. And starting in April, the grocery voucher program that thousands of families have relied on will expire. For over 2 months, my council office and working people organizing with the People's Budget asked council members, will you make big business pay for the crisis or put the burden on working people and communities of color? We know the answer now, and unfortunately, it is not a surprising one. This is par for the course for the Democratic establishment. Not one single Democratic council member was willing to support the People's Budget and my office's proposal to approve a tiny increase in the Amazon tax that would have stopped all of the budget cuts. Corporations like Amazon, F5 Networks, and Starbucks have just reported staggering third quarter profits. Amazon alone has made $11.5 billion with a B, dollars in profits just since April. In other words, throughout the pandemic so far. Instead of a tiny increase in the tax on these pandemic profiteers, the Democrats are choosing to put the burden of the crisis on ordinary people. Democratic council members have shockingly claimed that this is an anti-austerity budget, but that is simply a lie. The City Council's current proposed budget does reduce slightly the size of the vicious cuts proposed in Mayor Durkin's budget, but there are still, as I said, almost $200 million being cut. They have made the bald-faced claim, for example, that there are no cuts to parks, while at the same time, just a few minutes ago, voting for an ordinance that gives the city the legal authority to cut the Parks Department budget. On the other hand, the introduction to the mayor's proposed budget says, quote, spending reductions were necessary, end quote. And this is how big business and the political establishment has always approached recessions. You will catch them either engaging in obfuscation and simply pretending that the budget cuts don't exist, or claiming that there is no alternative to draconian cuts to public infrastructure and essential services, while the biggest corporations continue to absorb record profits. Part of my job as an elected representative of working people and as a socialist city council member is to expose the lies of the political establishment. As you can see, the claim that this is an anti-austerity budget is the latest such blatant falsehood. It is true that the council's budget amendments, which I have supported, have prevented the budgetary layoffs of City of Seattle workers. But that is only because the overwhelming majority of the budget cuts defer or eliminate public works like construction and maintenance projects that the city contracts out to be done by workers who are not directly employed by the city. Even a simple back-of-the-envelope calculation shows clearly that these cuts will result in hundreds of layoffs and canceled job creation, if not more, which in turn will deepen the recession. We need to be expanding public jobs program like in the New Deal that the labor movement, led by socialists, won in the 1930s by putting ferocious pressure on FDR. We do not need to slash public investments. We should be expanding the Green New Deal jobs program, not cutting infrastructure maintenance. As our movement has said, austerity budgets are anti-worker, anti-union, and anti-people of color. Democratic council members even refused to support our movement's proposal to develop legislation for an elected community oversight board with power to hold the police accountable. Every single Democrat voted against accountability. This is the 8th time I am voting on Seattle City budget, and never before have there been more lessons for the activists and organizers of social movements than have been revealed this year. Throughout history, it has been movements that make progressive change, not the machinations of the political establishment, not electing the smartest technocrats, and not the relationships between elected officials. Real change is driven by the balance of power in society as a whole, and particularly the organized forces of the working class prepared to fight. 2 years ago, I was the only no vote as the council approved the police contract, rolling back accountability, and increased funding to the Seattle Police Department by tens of millions. Last year, with just me voting no, all Democrats then passed a special bill to provide hiring bonuses for new police officers. Now, after the Justice for George Floyd movement, many of the same council members have voted in favor of $31 million reduction in police budget. What made the Democrats take even this limited step was the pressure of the movement. Similarly, had it not been for the powerful Tax Amazon movement over the summer, there would be an additional $214 million of a hole in the budget. In the first half of 2020, the Tax Amazon movement mobilized hundreds, perhaps thousands of community activists and organizers. We held mass organizing conferences, which elected a coordinating committee that was held accountable to the rank and file, where community members voted democratically on both the policy and the strategy to win. And those volunteers gathered 30,000 signatures on the Tax Amazon ballot initiative. And with the threat of a ballot initiative hanging over the heads of big business and the political establishment, We won this historic legislation. Members of the public may have noticed that I never use the phrase quote unquote jumpstart to refer to the Amazon tax. That is because that language is designed and approved by big business to try and erase the
Madam
pivotal
President,
role of the grassroots
that's not
tax
true, Madam
Amazon
President.
movement from the history of our victory. You can see the pictures and videos of the tax Amazon movement and hundreds participating in mass meeting after mass meeting. There are no pictures of a movement called Jumpstart because there was no such movement, only a watered down proposal passed under pressure from our movement. And it is essential that we recognize the vital role of the movement in these victories, which otherwise would not have happened. If we as working people do not, then our future demands will fail. We should recognize and claim every victory our grassroots movements win, and I have voted for every progressive budget amendment in this budget. But those victories continue to be on the margins of the budget, while the majority of the budget is an austerity budget, placing the burden of the COVID emergency, climate emergency, homelessness emergency, and the economic recession onto the shoulders of regular working people rather than big business and the rich. For those reasons, I will be voting no on this brutal austerity budget. Our movement needs to carry forward serious and sober lessons from this year and come back next year to fight renewed battles for COVID relief and a guaranteed jobs program, to cancel rent and mortgages for those affected by COVID, to defend the Amazon tax against what will be round 2 of attempts by the Democratic establishment to pass a statewide ban on municipal big business taxes, and for an elected community oversight board with full powers to hold the police accountable. But to win any of this, we will need movements, and the leadership of the movements will need to be independent of the political establishment.
Okay. Councilmember Mosqueda, I think you wanted an opportunity to respond to some of those colorful comments. I'm happy to allow for that to happen. I do have 3 other council members who are in the queue, so if there's no objection, I'm happy to allow that to happen. And so this proud Democrat is happy to recognize one of my Democratic.
This Labor Democrat.
Democrat.
Hey, thanks so much.
Mine on the council, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just think it's really important that we recognize the work of the folks who really organized to pass the Jumpstart progressive payroll tax. I recognized when we did this summer, the movement of the tax Amazon folks and the years that folks have been talking about this, no question. But let's remember the entire coalition that came together around Jumpstart, that included communities of color, that included workers of color, that included small businesses. This is important to remember because it is absolutely false. It is a lie to say that anything related to Jumpstart was drafted by big business. Not true. And I just want to make sure that that's abundantly clear, that we have integrity as we talk about it, and that we recognize that this was people coming together to build on years of advocacy that I have also acknowledged. But we passed something collectively as a council that did bring in the $214 million. And we did this with a broad coalition that helped come up with not just the name, but the entire proposal. And I'm incredibly proud of that work. It's not something that large businesses supported by any means, nor were the work of the communities of color, housing advocates, Green New Deal advocates, the folks who fought for environmental protections and homelessness services, all of the pieces that we got in there. It's a really, really robust effort, and I don't want their work to be erased by one person's words and a revision of history. So thanks again to everybody who did work on passing the Jumpstart progressive payroll tax.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosqueda, for those comments. In the queue, we have Councilmember Strauss, followed by Councilmember Lewis, and then Councilmember Peterson. Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues. I am really proud to see this budget before us, including my priorities for food access, tenant protections, addressing homelessness, addressing climate crisis, and investing in trees, and increasing our access to transit as well. I just want to start off by saying I wasn't going to mention this, but I am really glad that we have limited the layoff of city employees, expanded housing, food, and economic stimulus to Seattle residents. The council's budget prevents us against austerity budgeting. Restorations and investments are included in this budget to stop cuts to core government services and public sector workers who provide those services. Every budgetary layoff that was planned in the proposed budget has been replenished so that we ensure that the core services in critical areas, especially to our most vulnerable in times of crisis, are invested in, that we continue those core government services in critical areas. The council's budget takes this anti-austerity approach. It builds back on all of the proposed cuts, and it even builds back the reserves to around the Great Recession emergency reserve levels, replenishing these emergency reserves just as Jumpstart Spend Plan envisioned. So very proud of the overall work and wasn't expecting to make those comments. I am proud and stand by them. Regarding food access, I'm really glad that this budget has invested in the Fresh Bucks program. We decreased the wait list incredibly, and I'm thankful for the additional emergency food assistance that is moving faster than expected. Also requesting that Office of Economic Development develop strategies to cut red tape to support farmers markets, bringing the farm to our market here in the city, and adding to OED for the special events program lead position to ensure that those farmers market support work is accomplished. Regarding my priorities for tenants, adding money to SDCI for tenant outreach, education, and services. Not only adding those dollars for those education and services, we added staff to SDCI for tenant outreach and property owner assistance group. And then also with SDCI setting the reporting guidelines to ensure that SDCI permit processes times improve over this next year. For homelessness, bringing homelessness outreach services dedicated to District 6 and other districts across the city, increasing the funding for the mobile crisis teams, who are the first right responders for behavioral health 911 calls, increasing behavioral health and substance use outreach for D6 and across the city to invest upstream and decrease 911 calls for behavioral health, as that is what is often called in as a disturbance. And budgeting the budget overall, investing in housing and appropriate shelter, because we know that outreach is only as successful as the shelter and housing resources we have available. For climate, my budget proposal amendment, and thank you to everyone involved, restored the climate advisor position. We also requested Seattle Public Utilities to explore the expansion of the Tree Ambassador program, and I'm very grateful for Councilmember Peterson bringing forward the tree statement of legislative intent, as well as partnering with Councilmember Peterson for transit on the transit multimodal corridor and ensuring that we can get that overpass over I-5 that is pedestrian friendly. Also, thank you to everyone and Councilmember Lewis for taking up the mantle on Thomas Street, Market to Mohai, Smith Cove Park. Another one of my priorities, jobs and representation. So ensuring that OED has dollars to support workforce development opportunities, and that our census outreach and engagement position is retained so that we're able to follow up with community, ensure it's not that outreach is not just a one-time experience, rather that we ensure it is a relationship. Again, the council budget overall focused on economic recovery, housing, health, community safety, and addressing the climate crisis. So I just want to take a moment to thank you, Chair Mosqueda and Sajal, for shepherding this process. We could not have done this without central staff. Thank you. Big thank you to Dan, Allie, Calvin, Greg, Yolanda, Tom, Lisa, Jeff, Brian, Karina, Carlos, Lish, Keatle, Asha, Eric, Amy, Tracy, and Patty. If I missed someone, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. To our clerks, Monica, Jody, Amelia, Linda, Tracy, Thao, Liz, Chris, and Joel. And of course, we couldn't do this in this day and age without our information technology. Ian's son, Eric, and Bren. Comms, Dan, we couldn't do this if we're not communicating with folks, Dana, Stephanie, and Joseph. And of course, the folks on my team, Lena, Amanda, Peter, and my budget lead, Noah. I could not have done this without you. So again, thank you, colleagues, for all your hard work in this unprecedented year. This budget addresses Seattle's immediate needs and invests in our future. I'm excited to stand with you today.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss, for those comments. Next up is Councilmember Lewis and then Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be brief in my remarks, but I want to start at the top, following the lead of my colleagues in thanking everybody here at the Ledge Department who was able to help bring this budget together in a professional and progressive way for the final product that we have ended up with. I want to, at the top, really profoundly thank my staff, Camila Brown, Jacob Thorpe, Parker Dawson, and Daniela Suarez. Without you guys, I couldn't do this work, and really appreciate your commitment throughout this really difficult year and also throughout this budget process. In pivoting to talking about some of the specific items, I wanted to start at the top just by recognizing a recent comment from Danny Westneat that I thought really summarized the leadership of this council over this really difficult year. This started off with everybody loves to dunk on the Seattle City Council, but when everybody was fiddling around waiting for somebody else to do some COVID-19 relief, Seattle acted. And I think we could also apply that similarly to restructuring public safety in a more equitable way, or towards making sure that even in times of crisis, we are planning for the future on climate resiliency and a Green New Deal, or making sure that we are still advancing tax equity when a lot of critics told us that we couldn't pass Jumpstart or that we shouldn't pass Jumpstart. This council acted, and that action has allowed us to respond to the myriad of crises and challenges that 2020 has put in our way. And I do want to comment on a couple of things that I'm particularly excited about for District 7. District 7, which is overwhelmingly majority renter, we increased renter support, and I want to thank Councilmember Swan for bringing that forward and was proud to sponsor increased legal representation for renters, increased support for renters, increased information and workshops so that renters know their rights, which is more critical than ever. I want to recognize the 545 additional transitional shelter spaces that we will be putting in our system, almost a 20% increase in transitional shelter. And just for the record, those are shelter spaces with 4 walls and a door that locks, shelter spaces that guarantee dignity and privacy to the people who stay in them, and shelter spaces that have never been more necessary for people, not only to have that quality of life that so many of us take for granted, but also to be able to secure in place and respond to the dynamics of the COVID emergency. The maintained funding for Thomas Street in District 7, a critical investment for east-west connection for bikes and pedestrians, is something I am very happy to carry the torch for, continuing the work of my predecessor, Sally Bagshaw, and the work of Councilmember Strauss in his former position as the legislative assistant here in the Ledge Department. The preservation of critical positions in the Economic Development Office that will guide our recovery related to nightlife, related to maritime jobs, and related to farmers markets. These are critical investments. And of course, the significant investments to scale and expand police alternatives like Health One, and to re-envision and expand the role of parking enforcement officers to be more of a community civil service officer in line with models of public safety that a lot of other cities in the United States and Western Europe have adopted. And there's still more work that needs to be done. And I just want to finish by saying that if 2020 was a year with lots of challenges, it is my hope that we are setting the stage for a 2021 that is going to see Seattle bounce back in a significant and strong way based on the assets that we are putting into the community through this budget. That we will have a serious and determined administration in Washington, D.C. With the incoming Biden-Harris administration to be a partner in expanding our infrastructure support, in taking the public health emergency of COVID seriously and being a partner in our relief efforts that we have led on as a city council. That there will be a vaccine rollout that the city and King County and the Board of Health will have a role in to facilitate a strong recovery over the course of next year, and finally have a federal policy that will mirror our local one in grappling with this virus in a serious way. That we will have a legislative session from our partners in Olympia that will finally get more resources from the state in play to assist our efforts here, not only in the COVID and economic response, but also in progressive new legislation that only the state legislature can pass to help strengthen this council's actions on building a new system of public safety that is equitable and responsive to community demand. And of course, the opportunity to negotiate a new and equitable contract with SPOG, which will be expiring at the end of this year and which will dominate a lot of the discussions going into next year. These things in 2021 give me hope that we're getting all this out of the way early in 2020, and that we can really set the stage with this budget, Chair Mosqueda, and thank you for your leadership on putting this together, to really make sure that 2021 is going to be a year of action, and is going to be a year where we get a lot of these assets into the field to do the work that we know needs to be done. And I look forward to voting on this today and to moving forward to preparing for the stage of the oversight and the implementation of these critical initiatives. And I know that we have a good team here, not only in terms of our colleagues on the council, but also our central staff and everyone else here in the Ledge Department who has done such a good job to bring this together and move us forward. So with that, I have no additional comments. Thank you so much, and look forward to voting on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis, for those comments. Next up is Councilmember Peterson. And again, colleagues, if anyone else would like to make comments, please do let me know. And we, in tradition and consistent with the rules, Councilmember Mosqueda will have the last word to close out debate today. But next up is Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Council President, and a special thanks to our Budget Chair, Teresa Mosqueda, and her team for their leadership during this fall's budget process, and to our City Budget Office and all the department heads who worked on this budget, Council Central staff for their hard work, also our city clerks and Seattle Channel for putting us on TV to communicate to our constituents. And I want to thank my team, Malik, Willa, Toby, Kara, Sienna, and all the constituents who contacted our office about the city budget. Finalizing a budget always feels like a big accomplishment, and especially given this year's challenges, a pandemic, a recession, a racial reckoning, the homelessness crisis, the West Seattle Bridge closure, and an antagonistic Trump administration. I believe the amended budget has both positives and negatives, and I believe it's important for my constituents that I acknowledge both. First, some of the concerns. I'm concerned this budget shortchanges our bridge infrastructure. I don't think it fully revamps public safety with a plan. I don't feel like we have enough accountability for our response to homelessness. And I'm concerned that we're giving city government a pay raise, a pay increase, instead of investing more in our most marginalized communities. But this budget benefits every district, including District 4. And the budget process was fair, thanks to the diplomacy of our Budget Committee chair. No budget is perfect. Our constituents have diverse and conflicting views. A budget with both positives and negatives is a natural result. And finally, people are yearning for a functional government. If the budget does not pass, nothing gets done. So after weighing both the positives and the negatives, I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Are there any other comments from any of my other colleagues?
Nope.
All right, Councilmember Juarez, thank you for confirming that you don't have any additional comments to add. I'll just be really brief. We are spending some time in our newsletter in my office and via our social media highlighting the priorities that we had in my office around climate resilience, directing investments towards BIPOC communities, including restoration of full funding for the Legal Defense Network, increased investments in housing and homelessness, particularly around rental assistance for families with school-age children and folks who have disabilities. And of course, much of the work related to public safety has already been discussed by many of my colleagues on the City Council, so I'm not going to belabor those points. I do want to say thank you to Chair Mosqueda for a very difficult job here. I think when she was talking to me as a future council president and advocating for an opportunity to be the budget chair, I don't think she did that advocacy in the context of realizing that we were going to be facing a massive economic recession amidst a global pandemic. And in the middle of all of it, a racial reckoning that has shaken the world, including our city. So thank you for your leadership in that regard. Huge thanks to also the Council Central staff, clerk's office, communications, and yes, even our HR and operations folks who keep us running quietly in the background. So thanks to everybody for all the work that you've done during very trying times. So I'm not going to belabor any of my priorities. I wanted to say just a few thank yous. And I wanted to, in the spirit of keeping things interesting, I wanted to read you all a quick little haiku that my office has written dedicated to all of you. And it reads, y'all did a great job. You know who the real ones are. Team Lorena out. Councilmember Mosqueda, you have the last word.
Thank you very much, Council President. I will just say thanks once again. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege, and it's not over. We have a lot of work to do, and I know that will continue Q4 this year and into next year or early in our deliberations. I do want to take the opportunity to thank Ben Noble, our budget director at CBO, for all of their work and their time with the staff that he has made available to us. Appreciate all the work that the city budget office has done. And I want to read into the record the names of all of the central staff. I know that council members have already mentioned a number of names, but thanks again to Interim Director Dan Eder, Supervisor Ali Panucci, and Calvin Chow, Greg Doss, Brian Goodnight, Eric McConney, Karina Bull, Asha Venkanatram, Keto Freeman, Amy Gore, Yolanda Ho, Jeff Sims, Lish Whitson, Tracy Ratcliffe, Lisa Kay, Tom Meisel, Carlos Lugo, and anybody else that I missed. Patty Wergen deserves a huge shout out for getting us all prepared every day. Thank you very much for all of your work to make these documents possible. And with that, appreciate all of you. Much more work to come. Thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Mosqueda, for those closing remarks. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and move through the remainder of our agenda. We moved very quickly through items 1 through 34, but we all knew that there'd be a little bit of a pause as we consider items 35 and 36 as usual. So thank you to everybody for your comments and for engaging in this conversation. Items 35 and 36, folks, I am going to now ask that the clerk allow us to continue to proceed with voting on these two items. And the first item on the agenda is clerk file 314464. Will the clerk please call the roll on approving and placing the clerk file on file?
Morales.
Yes.
Mosqueda.
Aye.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sawant.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
Yes.
Juarez.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you so much. All right, the motion carries and the clerk file is approved and placed on file. Item 36. This is Council Bill 119938. We have already had debate and discussion, as I mentioned. So will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales.
Yes.
Mosqueda.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sawant.
No.
Strauss.
Yes.
Herbold.
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you so much. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? We just have a few more items, colleagues, to get through before we adjourn. As a reminder, we still have a Parks District meeting.
Yay. Exciting stuff. Now we're talking.
Now I've got Councilmember Juarez's attention. We have a Parks District meeting immediately following full council. So just keep that in mind. Perhaps I should have had that reminder before the comments started on the previous items, but I do want to thank our IT department, who's going to be with us once again till the very, 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 very end of this process. Nobody would know what we were doing if it wasn't for our IT department helping us make this possible, along with Seattle Channel. So items 37 and 38. Will the clerk please read the short title of items 37 and 38 into the record?
Agenda items 37 and 38, Council Bill 119939, relating to the levy of property taxes. The committee recommends the bill pass. Council Bill 119940, authorizing the levy of regular property taxes by the City of Seattle for collection in 2021. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119939, item 37 on the agenda? Hearing no comments, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation? Okay, item 38. Are there any comments on Council Bill 119940, agenda item 38? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Morales,
Yes.
Mosqueda,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sawant,
Yes.
Strauss,
Yes.
Herbold,
Yes.
Juarez,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
President Gonzalez.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you so much. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? That is the last item of business on our agenda. Is there any further business to come before the council? Hearing none, gratefully. Colleagues, this does conclude the items of business on today's very full agenda. Our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting is on Monday, December 7th, 2020 at 2:00 p.m. The council, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, will meet as board members of the Seattle Parks District shortly after we adjourn from this meeting. Councilmember Juarez, how long would you like to adjourn before reconvening?
Well, I originally said 15, but maybe 10. Is that good enough for everybody? 10 minutes, and then it's a pretty straightforward agenda.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We ran a little bit late this evening, so I'm fine with 10 minutes. So
Sure.
Let's say we're going to convene at 5:10 p.m.
Yes.
as board members of the Seattle Park District, which is chaired by Councilmember Juarez. So for now, we are adjourned with full council, and I will see you all in about 10 minutes.
Thank you.